create more abundance in your life by just changing the things that you think about.
And start thinking about the reason why talking about your finances may be a little uncomfortable. Why is it that you can't talk about your finances and feel good about having a conversation?
We start again changing our mind frame, thinking about things differently. And instead of saying, I can't afford this, how about I make a plan to be able to purchase this?
The basis of financial literacy encompasses a wide variety of things. But what we're going to do in today's video or this YouTube live is we're going to discuss some of those basic concepts.
And if you don't know, I'm Carmen.
And I'm Darius.
So we are switching it up, folks. We are testing going live because we want to be able to engage with our subscribers more intimately. We want to have one-on-one time with you all. And we also just want to share some of the things that we're dealing with live, because a lot of times the videos that you see are pre-recorded from, a few weeks ago. And so now we can talk about what's happened today. So happy Thursday, everyone.
And we can do it without edits.
Yeah. So this is the rough cut and it's going to be good. We're going to have a ton of fun. So what we want to talk about, or for me personally, Darius and I, we are reading this book, Think and Grow Rich. We're rereading it together, and it's been bringing up a lot of things for me in particular with regards to like my mindset, and then how do I relate all of this to infinite banking and everything that we teach. So for me, the premise that I want to talk about today is all about how thoughts are things. And this can be somewhat of an abstract concept if you really don't grasp it. So that's why I figured like today we could massage a lot of that, because as Darius was just talking about in the intro, we are dealing with the basics of financial literacy and trying to comprehend and achieve as much as we possibly can with our finances. Is there anything that you wanted to bring up as you're looking through?
No, pages? As I'm just trying to find the things that I highlighted in this first chapter, because I went through the book and I made some highlights and some things that I talked about in the money school that we can bring up in here as we go through it. But I want you to get through your thoughts first, because I figured I was distracting you a little bit.
So with the thought of thoughts are things, I have to start with the fact of like when I was first understanding financial literacy, it was very overwhelming for me. And it may have been something that I just kind of put to the side because it just seemed like an uphill battle. And so because I already dismissed it, that affected my bank account. That affected my financial activities and how I transacted money. And those were the thoughts that I chose not to think about. And we all know when we don't take action in certain areas, whether it's your health or your checkbook, you know how those can go awry very quickly. And so today I just want to challenge you all to start having maybe some conversations that might make you a little bit uncomfortable and take you outside of your comfort zone, because you never know what's on the other side of that.
Yeah, and start thinking about the reason why talking about your finances may be a little uncomfortable. Why is it that you can't talk about your finances and feel good about having a conversation about it, regardless of what's in your bank account? The only way we'll know is once we start getting things off of our chest. Like when you think about therapy, it's about getting things off your chest.
True. Yeah. So this is very therapeutic.
It's hard to talk about losing weight without talking about your weight.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right.
Yeah. You can't talk about losing weight without getting on the scale.
Right.
Right. So what made you transform your thoughts, Darius, when you started your financial journey?
The easy thing for me was the audience. At the time, because I go back to when I was initially introduced to the idea of infinite banking, the people that was there wasn't the people that I'm normally surrounding myself with.
So paint that picture.
So first time we heard about infinite banking, the person that was telling us about it, he flew there on his plane, and the people that was in the room were a lot older than me. They drove different cars there. it was just all different. Like I was
the contrast was different.
Yeah, it wasn't a concept. I had to see the thing about the presentation about infinite banking a few times. For one, because I was distracted about the people that was in the room and why am I here at this particular time getting the same information.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I was distracted by that initially. And then once I was able to get past that and into the information, I started to understand that I didn't always put myself in a position to hear information similar to this.
So some more abstract concepts,
And
right?
more, yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because even the idea of how I got into the position of where we got into the position of where we can even be presented with the information was we were outside of our comfort zone.
Totally.
And having that conversation and getting to that conversation to see the presentation it was just all different from the start.
Yeah. And I totally agree. I think even like when we first went to a conference and started learning about infinite banking, we went to that same conference at least 10 times.
Yeah.
Because each time we went to the conference, we would learn something different. It would clear up things for us, or we would just relearn everything all over again, because we recognized that with the people in the room, they were different than the people that we would typically hang out with. And we were like, what they got going on over there?
Yeah.
Let's try to figure out a little bit of this out. So that's why, going back to the thoughts are things premise, what are we thinking about? Are we owning our thoughts? And if we're not, then we recognize that we're just going to continue to go into whatever, or continue to allow whatever programming we have from our childhood or our environment to lead us in whatever financial direction that we're in.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, the place we were in at that time when we first moved to Arizona, we were waking up at 5:30 in the morning just to go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
We were doing our affirmations. We were reading books. It was totally different from the experience that we had when we were in Texas, where we would wake up and go to work and talk about how we hate traffic, things of that nature. We were in a different mind frame altogether.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And what you just described was us taking ownership.
Yes.
Right. We very much started taking ownership of our lives, taking ownership of the day, and doing things that were more productive than what we typically were doing before.
So naturally, we would be presented with something different.
Yep, exactly. Okay. So let us know in the comments how you all feel. What are the thoughts that you think about? What are the things that you're constantly kind of working through? And maybe we can help you through that on this live. The idea, again, is for us to be able to connect with you and share the experiences that we're all going through, so that we can all end up in the financial freedom quadrant, so to speak, so that we can be creating cash flow, so that will allow us to have the financial freedom that we desire.
Right. Now, as you start looking at some of the things in your book, just to share with you, like when it comes to financial literacy, here are some of the key components for us to continue to sharpen, or skills to continue to sharpen as we go through our journey. And it's centered around the stuff that we talk about on our channel, like budgeting, savings, debt management, investing, setting financial goals, emergency funds, understanding taxes, insurance is even in there, estate planning, consumer awareness, retirement planning, investment risk, and compound interest.
Mm-hmm.
I know all these things sound very, very familiar, but these are just the basics that we need to make sure that we continue to work on even after we become what we assume to be success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this goes all about to like our old background. I don't know if you guys remember, we had a picture on the wall that says like embrace the journey. There are so many things that you're going to have to continue to revisit and revisit and revisit and edit as you go along. This is never an opportunity where you're going to be like set it and forget it.
Mm-hmm.
You're always going to be evolving. We are constantly challenging ourselves by reading more books or the people that we're surrounding ourselves with. So the opportunity again is to challenge the thoughts that you have about money, challenge the thought that you have about yourself and your relationships, because you always have the ability to change your thoughts, think about them more positively, create more abundance in your life by just changing the things that you think about. So for example, if you are always thinking, oh, I wish I had more money. Oh, I can't afford this. Oh, I can't do this or that. Then you're obviously restricting what could potentially come your way because you're thinking that you don't have enough money.
Subconsciously, what you're going to do is make the things that you're saying true.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is there's a quote that it's like, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
You're right.
So start thinking about those things. I know it can sound a little woo-woo, but what we have experienced personally is when we start, again, changing our mind frame, thinking about things differently and saying, instead of saying, I can't afford this, how about I make a plan to be able to purchase this and at, said date,
Mm-hmm.
so that you have something to look forward to instead of telling you that you don't deserve something or you can't get it.
Right. And don't miss out on the journey that gets you to that point. Don't miss out on the acceleration to where you're trying to go rather than a destination. Because the destination, I find a lot of times when we speak with clients, is I want to have $5 million in the bank. Yes, that's great, but embrace the journey to get to that $5 million, because that's where all the fun is. That's where all the learning is. That's where all the learning, failures, and opportunity presents itself.
Yeah. And if we shift gears slightly to talk about like infinite banking, for example, a lot of people can tell you whatever they want to tell you about finances. And that's where you have to start taking ownership of the things that you're thinking about. Because I know for us, when we started telling people like, hey, you know that you can use the cash value inside your whole life insurance policy to do XYZ, we were immediately met with resistance. And it was just because of the fact that people aren't aware of how to utilize financial resources that are available to them. But typically we know like the standards. We know about checkings and savings accounts. We maybe all know about 401ks, for example, because the majority of Americans have these accounts. But then it starts to get a little gray when you look at other opportunities. And so for us with the whole infinite banking thing, it made so much sense to us. And we just recognize that we have to just take advantage of what is out there for us, because we weren't taking advantage of it at all.
Yeah, and the thing that I want to say about infinite banking is not for everybody. It's just our idea or our responsibility to present you with the idea. It's your job to go on that journey. And the only thing we're doing, only position we have is we're presenting to you the journey that we're on. And whether or not you want to do the exact same thing or take bits and pieces from it, that's completely up to you. But our only job is just to present you with the idea. You have to walk the walk.
So I love the question that we got in the comments. So what's up, Kashif? What is the hardest part about the journey of the transition from Texas to Arizona? I asked because it seems like there was an epiphany from what happened between the two locations. Very good question. So when we were living in Houston, Texas, Darius and I were both working in corporate America. And I don't know if you all know who may be new to the channel. At that time, Darius was laid off. And that really started.
I wasn't laid off at that time.
Well, when we were in Houston, that's what started the trajectory of us changing our mindset, right? So when we were in Houston, you got laid off. Then we were like, we need to start thinking about money differently, because the engineer who we thought was like a necessity in the workplace was laid off. We were like, maybe we're not thinking about this right. So we just started challenging our thoughts about money, right? Thoughts are things.
We started challenging everything around us. We challenged the fact that we had a house built. We challenged the fact that we have these cars that we have payments on. We challenged the fact that we have to sit in these cars that we have payments on and drive, get in traffic to go to work a job that
we didn't like,
that we not necessarily didn't like, where
I ain't like.
Well, for me, I realized where I was in the totem pole, because in the different projects that I work, I would have to go and work with high level executives and understand that the input that I had in these manufacturing sequences, how much money was being made based on the different ideas that I was sharing and how we get paid. So I started to think about entrepreneurship a little differently inside of my job. And then when I got the opportunity, I was like, okay, I'm going to take all the things that I've learned from my job and I'm going to apply it to entrepreneurship. So when we moved to Arizona, we moved with a plan to surround ourselves to, at the time we were doing like a meetup. I was going to go to meetups with different entrepreneurs so that I can be surrounding myself with people that understand how to do real estate investing. I was going to make sure that I put my best foot forward as far as how can I add value to these individuals based on what I know from engineering to make things better for everybody. So it was just a different mind frame or plan that we had to in the transition from Texas over to Arizona.
Yeah, and to fill in a little bit of the details. So when Darius got laid off, like you said, we just started challenging everything as far as our lifestyle was concerned. Like we both felt like we wanted more and we weren't really happy and content with where we were. And we just were sick of feeling that way, kind of sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. And so that's when we recognized like we're just letting everyone control what we do as opposed to us taking more control of what we want to do. And that's when we started looking into into real estate investing. Darius did get another job at the time, but on the side during the weekends and in the evenings, we were doing real estate investing. And then I got a job
in real estate
with my existing company in Houston to move to Phoenix, Arizona, and relocate. And so it was that at that shift where we were like, change is good. We didn't really love Houston. We were looking for something different. And we said, okay, I'll take this job opportunity. Darius left his job and his whole focus was to build the real estate business while I kept the lights on with my consistent paycheck, right? Mm-hmm. So that was the transition. So we moved to Phoenix specifically with the point of this is going to be a very specific move because Darius is going to build the real estate business. And at a few years later, I was able to leave my job so that we could both go into the real estate business together.
Right. And now it didn't work out that way. Reason being is in the process of real estate and meeting people, which we set our intention to do, we started working with other investors that had deals. And then we started working with private money lenders that had money, and working between those two people. What we ended up positioning ourselves as being is something similar to a bank, because what our job was hard money lender when it came to hard money lending, when it came to real estate was expensive. So what we did is we got private money and we charged a lower interest rate than private money lending.
And hard money lending.
And then hard money lending. So that created the opportunity for us to where we were presented with this idea of using life insurance from one of our private money lenders.
Yeah. So with all of that said, the setback with the Darius being laid off became our setup in our world of entrepreneurship. Because for me, I don't know if we would have immersed ourselves so much into entrepreneurship or have gone as hard as we did if we didn't have that opportunity that came to us where it made us rethink everything. So I know that story was long-winded, but the whole point of us sharing that was for you all to, again, recognize and take ownership of the things that you're doing, because we literally moved states with this new mindset just to get a different environment and to put ourselves in an uncomfortable situation, because we knew that you have to do different things if you want different outcomes.
Right.
So anything else you want to add?
No, I 100% agree. And not just to ramble on about the topic. I mean, we have plenty of videos where we talked about it. So I don't want to just keep going. What's the next topic that you want to share?
That was it. Thoughts or things. And I had this text message that I texted Darius so that I could remind myself, which is basically that this was a part of one of the book clubs that we're a part of, and we were having this conversation. And so what we were left with, which I'm going to leave you all with, is if you don't think your own thoughts, then you will absorb the thoughts that are being thought around you. So I'll say that one more time. If you don't think your own thoughts, then you will absorb the thoughts that are being thought around you.
Now let's break down what your intent was for that text message.
Yeah. So let's talk about like the media. Let's talk about programming. You know, we watch things. We are constantly being bombarded with marketing and being fed information. And so you need to challenge the things that are being fed to you, or maybe just turn it off and start listening to some of the things that you're talking about, being true to the things that you want to do instead of continuing to compromise. Because for myself, I know it is really hard. It was really hard for me to say no at different points of my life, and recognizing that, no, I just need to be true to myself. So I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings, but no, I have to be true to myself. So I have to say no to you because this is going to compromise what I want to do. So that's what I want to leave you all with.
Right. And another thing is, when you want to challenge an idea of something, what are you doing about it? Because if you're just there challenging ideas and sitting on your hands, what's going to happen is you're just constantly being bombarded with more information that aren't even your own thoughts. So take some of your thoughts and put those thoughts into action so that you can have some experience as to, yes, this applies to me, or this doesn't apply to me. Because not everything isn't for everybody. Infinite banking isn't for everybody. Investing in the stock market isn't for everybody. Investing in real estate isn't for everybody.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that, there we go. I like it. Words, not work.
There you go.
That's very, very powerful with the comments. Words not work. So
Appreciate you, Chief.
Think about that as you guys go about your day. Thank you, Chief, for all of your engagement. Thank you to everyone who is with us. Before you hop off, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. That helps significantly with the algorithm and the love that YouTube shows us. But we want to thank you all again for your time. Thank you for being with us live.
Thank you for allowing us to get warmed back up into YouTube lives and getting our chops back.
Yeah, we haven't done it in 2 years. So it's exciting to be with you all again. So look forward to seeing us next Thursday. We want to continue to do this so we can get more people together, have bigger conversations about money, because in our culture, people just aren't talking about money. So every Thursday, why don't we talk about it together? Remember, folks, own your own lifestyle.
Or someone else will.
Have an amazing day. That's right. It is possible to create your own bank-like system. And in this video, we are going to show you the exact formula that Darius and I use to implement this into our own lifestyle. Now, in just a few moments, I'm going to share with you a replay webinar that Darius and I did together for our entire Wealth Nation community.